My name is Randy Chin. I'm the manager for mortgage specialists with RBC Royal Ban. I'd like to share with you my journey, my personal story, and some experiences and examples of how to get into home ownership easier and simpler via the mortgage financing processes. I'd like to share a little bit about my story with you before we get started. I'm a good Canadian kid, grew up in the township of Langley, British Columbia, and like most Canadians, got to play a lot of minor sports, including hockey and baseball and soccer, and eventually went on to marry my high school sweetheart and had two beautiful children who also graduated from the same school as us out at Brookswood Secondary in Langley. Grew up in a large household with two really hard-working parents, and I'd just like to pause there for a moment and certainly thank my parents for everything they helped us with over the years, and especially my dad, who worked two jobs that sometimes really taught us the value of hard work, and that hard work really was something that we carried on into our lives and serves us well to this day. After graduating Brookswood Secondary, we went on to become a student at BCIT and specialized in operations management. And from there, developed a real good skill set around problem solving. And those problem solving skills I utilize to this day. And those skills focused on prioritizing what was most critical in the moment. And as you move on in life, as most of you probably know, life comes at you fast and responsibility grows as you get older, especially as you move out of the house. And as that responsibility grows, you have to learn how to prioritize what's really critical, what's important. And having those problem-solving skills was invaluable and still is invaluable to this day. After graduating at BCIT, I was able to take those skills to my career, which started at Surrey Credit Union. Most of you would know Surrey Credit Union today as Coast Capital Savings. But back in the day, I started as a bank teller and quickly moved on through the organization as the company grew into what is known today as Coast Capital Savings. But I focused most of my energy and my time and effort in the area of credit, particularly with residential mortgages. I found that residential mortgages really struck a chord with me, because we got to truly help people with their dream. And their dream was realizing home ownership. And it's not an easy journey. As someone who's gone through that experience myself, I can honestly tell you that it really takes some experienced people with a big heart around you to help you through that process. And that's what I learned to enjoy and to appreciate in my time when I was at Coast Capital Savings. In fact, today, even with all of the technology that surrounds us, you'll find that almost every mortgage in Canada still involves a human at some point during the transaction. We complete very few mortgage transactions online or virtually. Another thing that I reflect on in my time as a mortgage lender is the time I spent with real estate professionals. I'm just going to share with you for a moment one of my experiences with an old friend of mine who unfortunately is no longer with us, but a guy by the name of Paul Quinn. Paul was an excellent realtor for many years with RE/MAX, and he used to refer to me as a loan shark with a heart. And the reason he would say that was because I was able to weed into the so-called gray area and assist so many Canadians with their home buying experience who don't normally check all the boxes in terms of a credit application. Today we can write all kinds of policies and we can use artificial intelligence to create all kinds of processes to help us delineate who qualifies and who doesn't qualify. But even with all of today's great technology, there's still a vast gray area full of all kinds of great Canadians who have the ability to qualify for a mortgage, but don't necessarily fit within all of the parameters. And so it really takes a skilled lender, someone with a lot of experience, and with the commitment to go the extra step to help figure out how people can navigate through that gray area. And so my experience with Paul taught me that even today with all the technology, there is a lot of people that need help. They need that human-to-human intervention. And so I really do thrive on helping people, and I think at heart, more than anything, I'm a true underdog. Over the years, many folks have asked us how we got started with our home buying journey. And the fact of the matter is, it wasn't easy. You know, we had to make compromises to start with our first home when we ventured out into the housing market. And in fact, when I reflect on the housing market today, it really hasn't changed a lot. Is it affordable? Is it not affordable? That question is one that still resonates with home buyers and prospects as we see them each and every day. And people would say, well, it was more affordable back in the 1980s when we got started. And yeah, I'm dating myself, but you know what? It was hard to get started back then, as it is hard to get started today. And you know what we had to do back then was we did have to make those compromises when we got into the housing market. We had to buy in a market that wasn't our favorite market at the time, but it allowed us to get into the market. We were also delighted to be able to receive a gift from our parents. So the gift was, minor by today's standards, but still, it was a gift that helped us get a leg up and to get started into the market. And ultimately, it allowed us to be able to build equity into our first home. So that once we had that equity built, we were able to move back into the Langley market, which is where we really wanted to be, and we were able to build our first home. And today, that really isn't that much difference. We see, in my experience with the bank, we see a lot of first-time buyers getting assistance through the bank of mom and dad. And while that may not be a solution for everyone, we understand that there are still some alternative solutions that exist for people looking to get into the marketplace. There's many compromises that can be made, and there's a variety of other sources of cash flow that may be able to aid a first-time buyer get into the market, whether it's rental income from a suite or a lock-off suite. There's a lot of opportunities in the market today to assist with first-time home buyers, including what's available through the default insurers like CMHC and Sagen, who are able to provide financing security for first-time home buyers who have as little as 5% down. So what does home ownership provide you and your family? Well, let me share with you my personal experience. I work with a lovely man. His name is Mike Linehan. In fact, he's the head of residential mortgages for RBC. And he likes to think of our business as we are in the business of making Friday nights. So what does that really mean? Well, a home really should be a place that is not only secure and safe, but it should be a place where you create memories. It's a place where you have laughs. It's a place where you cry. It's a place to share with friends and family alike, to create those memorable moments that last a lifetime. And that's really the business that we're in. We're in the business of getting Canadians into homes. And when we get Canadians into homes, we're able to create those safe, secure environments to make those Friday nights come to life. And that's true in any home, whether it's home ownership or it's in the rental of a home. But creating a home is all about getting Canadians into a place where they feel safe, secure, and comfortable. As I reflect on the real value of home ownership, and if I could go back in time and share with you a story about my younger self, and one thing that I would say about real estate and the real estate market, I would strongly encourage and recommend to get in as early as possible. And as I think about my journey in real estate, I would say and encourage you to buy as much as you can, within your means, of course, and within whatever your lender will allow you to purchase. But clearly, we live in a market here in Greater Vancouver that is bordered by water, it's bordered by mountains, And we have a real scarcity of land in the market in which we live and play. And this really does have a profound impact on the value of real estate within the Metro Vancouver market. Whether you live in single-family real estate, you live in multifamily like a townhome or a high-rise, it really doesn't matter. The underlying value of the property is driven by the scarcity of the land that is here in British Columbia, particularly in the lower mainland market. And we have seen a slow and steady rise in real estate values over the last 100+ years in this market. And there really is no indication that that is going to change anytime in the near term. And when we have events like we've experienced over the last 20 to 30 years, like Expo, like the Olympics that were here in Vancouver, that continue to create more demand in the market, we will continue to see higher immigration into the area, whether it's immigration from Canada or it's immigration from around the globe. We're going to continue to have larger demand for real estate within this region. And if you go back over the last 100 years and you look at any 5-year window, you will observe that values of real estate generally have never gone down inside of a 5-year window. And so when you're buying real estate, particularly as a first-time buyer within this market, and you're buying it for the purpose of holding it for at least 5 years or longer, you're going to see great appreciation in your home and in the underlying real estate values. When asked what advice would you give to younger generations, noting it is a very challenging market when considering buying a home, I would say don't wait. Get into the market as soon as you can afford to qualify for that first home. Your home doesn't need to be that dream home, just get in. Again, when we bought our first home, I reflect on that experience. We bought in a partnership arrangement with my brother-in-law. So it was 2/3 between my wife and I and 1/3 with my brother-in-law. And again, that really helped us subsidize the overall payments and the expenditures of home ownership. But it also allowed us to be able to double down on some of the responsibilities around the house as well. We were able to do a lot of renovations in the home, but because there was 3 of us instead of 2, that really helped us not only with the resources to do those renovations, but it also helped us have more hands-on tools so we could work through those home renovations much quicker. In terms of other alternatives that are available to get you into your home sooner, we certainly recognize in the lending industry a lot of trade-offs like basement suite rental income, lock-off suite rental income that can help subsidize the overall cost and the significant barrier in some cases to affording your first home. And these things can really positively improve your cash flow and augment the debt servicing in your credit application in such a way that you may be able to move from owning a home in Langley to moving closer to the city center and owning a home maybe in Coquitlam or Burnaby, something closer to your employment potentially. So always consider that there are other alternatives to owning your first home. We're often asked, how do I know when I'm financially ready to handle home ownership? Well, the reality is you should probably start with a mortgage pre-approval, whoever your lender is. You know what? At the end of the day, nobody wants a mortgage. I get that. People want a home. They really don't want to rack up hundreds of thousands of dollars and in some cases, millions of dollars of debt. They really just want a home. And our responsibility as a lender, and the way I see it with professional lending, is that we should try to, as much as possible, get out of the way of that home buying experience by keeping that journey as simple and as easy as possible for the client so that they can really enjoy that home buying experience, so that they can go out there and shop for that home without any concerns, without any worries about what their financing is going to look like and whether there's any concerns around they're going to qualify for that financing. So the best place to start is with someone who is really accredited and experienced with providing that home pre-approval. And from there, we can guide you in such a way that your home buying experience is going to be remarkable. As I said before, it really starts with somebody who is professional, who's got the experience, who can customize a personal plan that really fits within your goals and your objectives. And what that means is sometimes stepping back a little bit and downsizing your expectations. What I mean by that is that some lenders will qualify you as high as they can to maximize the mortgage that you qualify for. But that doesn't necessarily always mean that that's the best fit for you and your family and your personal objectives. Sometimes that doesn't include a lot of the financial obligations or commitments that you have, lifestyle commitments, that don't necessarily fit within a credit application. So for example, maybe it's your membership to a gym or a yoga class, or perhaps it is your extracurricular activities that you have, commitments maybe to your church and so on. Those things don't necessarily always get accounted for within your credit application. And so a professional lender will understand that we need to accommodate for those particular personal objectives as well. And so as I said before, sometimes that means even downsizing a little bit what you qualify for. But the trade-off is that once you get into that home, you're really comfortable with your buying decision so that you can sleep at night and that you can live a life that's comfortable within your means. So how does one go about finding the right financial institution, finding the right lender out there? What's the difference between, a bank and a mortgage broker? And frankly, what I'm here to tell you based on the 30 plus years of experience that I've had working in the field with multiple financial institutions is that the name over the door or the shingle might bring you into the financial institution. But ultimately, it's the experience that you have with the people that work there that really keeps you there. This is really no different than going into a restaurant. The restaurant might be famous for, high-end food. You might get there and you might have this fantastic meal, but the service experience is horrible. And you may go back to that restaurant, but if you have a repeat of that horrific service experience, you may not go back there again, even though that the name and the food brought you there in the first place. And that's not dissimilar with the lending market as well. When you pick your financial institution, ultimately what keeps you there is the person that's working for you, that's fighting for you. Does that mean that person is going to say yes to you each and every time? No. I'm kindly reminded that there's always a human connected to this experience. And as a human doing business with other humans, it's our responsibility to make sure that we don't put you in harm's way. We want to get you to the decision of yes, but that doesn't always mean that we say yes today. But we have to be able to say, yes, this is how we get you to that new home, or this is how we get you to that next home. That's really our responsibility. It's to earn your trust and to earn your respect as a professional lender. And so at the end of the day, you really want someone who is going to work hard for you, that's going to advocate for you, but at the same time is also going to be able to make those hard calls, those hard decisions, and say, maybe now is not the right time. Yes, it's the right solution, but it's the right solution tomorrow, or maybe a year from now, or maybe a couple of years from now. And this is how we get you there. So that we're making a decision, you're making the decision that's really in the best interest of you and your family. So it's about aligning with a professional that knows their stuff and someone who's a tremendous communicator along the way. That communicator is somebody that has to stay in contact with you throughout the journey. It's really important that your professional lender communicates with you and your real estate professional to make sure that everybody is apprised of every step along the journey. so that there aren't any long pauses in that communication where you're left unknown what's happening with your mortgage application in the journey. And that's really important because a good lender understands that the longer you're left unknowing what's happening with your mortgage application, the more fear and anxiety, not only with you as a home buyer starts to creep in, but the more anxiety with your realtor as well. More self-doubt starts to creep in about, is this lender really on top of things? So when you're thinking about picking a professional lender, make sure you pick somebody who's an excellent communicator, somebody who gets back to you in a timely fashion, even when there isn't something to report. And so what I mean by that is, when a lender submits your credit application to their credit adjudication center, they might have to wait 2-3 days sometimes for that application to be turned around. But as I said before, the clock is ticking on your credit application and on your subject removal, and you want to know what's happening even when there isn't anything to report. So a good professional lender will get back to you and let you know that, hey, I want to let you know your credit application has been submitted. It might be a day or two before we have a response on that, but I do want to let you know that I'm on top of your application, and I will touch base with you again inside of another 24 hours just to let you know what's going on so that you can sleep at night knowing that your lender is on top of things. And so aligning with somebody who has those excellent communication skills is invaluable, and you'll find that's worth its weight in gold. But ultimately, it's finding somebody who's going to fight hard for you, is going to work hard for you, but is also got the mutual respect that they're going to have to make those hard decisions from time to time, and you can live with that, knowing that they're working in your best interest. So how do we get you to yes? This is such a common question. You know, my application maybe doesn't fit within the parameters of the lender or the financial institutions. So how do I overcome that? Well, first off, you may need to change your expectations a little bit, right? Maybe you're trying to buy in a market that really is outside of where you qualify for. That may be the easy solution. But there's a lot of other alternatives out there as well. And it might be as simple as looking for a cosigner. It might be about restructuring your debt. It might be about inviting the opportunity to create more cash flow in your particular scenario. So for example, it might be including basement or suite rental income into your credit application. It might be about bringing a partner, a friend or a family member into the application and into the real estate transaction itself. It may also be about working with somebody different and finding that alternative solution that that individual hasn't been able to find themselves. For just a moment, I want to come back to the gray area that I referenced earlier in today's conversation. The gray area is a lot more than just deciphering bank policies. A lot of financial institutions, like the Royal Bank where I work, offer a variety of programs that are catered to different market segments. So for example, newcomers to Canada, foreign buyers, investment mortgages, self-employed, people with high net worth but don't necessarily have cash flow. We have a variety of programs in the bank, and a variety of lenders offer these programs to help more Canadians get into their first home or into their new home. And these programs can be very comprehensive and very difficult sometimes to explain in a commercial or in a brochure. And so, reflecting on that gray area and having somebody who's a real expert lender is critical, because that expert lender has the knowledge and the experience to not only decipher the programs, but also to decipher your particular situation and figure out where you might fit within the bank's policy and within their program. And that is a real critical step in your journey. Having that right person that understands the programs and your particular situation. They don't look at it from one perspective. They're able to look into your scenario. That expert lender who can take a little bit of time combined with that experience, who can pour into your application and not just approach it from one angle, but is able to take a look at your finances, maybe consolidate different debts that are in your finances, and restructure that debt in such a way that it fits within bank policy, is extremely important. It might mean the difference between qualifying today and qualifying tomorrow. There's a lot of financial institutions out there that have alternatives beyond their own programs. And so much like at the Royal Bank that has an alternative mortgage program, whereby we have in-house brokers, there are other institutions out there as well that have a plethora of alternatives for their clients. And so I would really implore you to ask the right questions. Don't take no for an answer. Sometimes there's a plan B waiting for you. You just have to keep digging. And if you don't get the answer that you're looking for, keep asking. Maybe that financial institution isn't the right one for you, but there are financial lenders out there and mortgage specialists in the market that have access to a variety of programs, and those programs don't just reside within the broker market. So ask the right questions, and you might be pleasantly surprised that you qualify today and not tomorrow. It's really about being persistent and not giving up hope, but at the same time, balancing that with real expectations. And I think that is really what's critical here, is that we really want to get you into a home and into home ownership. But there has to be balance in this journey as well, because at the same time, an excellent lender doesn't want to put you in harm's way. Our journey is to help you get into that home as soon and as fast as possible and as easy as possible. As said before, it's not necessarily always getting yes right now, but it's about getting yes and how to get there. And an expert lender will show you the path to that yes. So I implore you not to give up on your home buying journey, even if the situation seems like it might be daunting, or it seems like your particular circumstances maybe not that favorable. I've found many times when we work with clients who think their situation is not favorable are pleasantly surprised once they sit down with an expert lender that they can turn the table upside down and literally get them into the home immediately.